At the moment, I'm getting ready to get the courage to make this mock-up for the medieval kirtle. I'm a bit nervous because I've never actually sewn anything medieval before, but I'm hoping that some of my knowledge of 18th century historical fashion, as well as actually making Volga Tatar historical fashion, is going to help me out, because some of the construction methods are similar. But you know what? I think chaotic sewing is my favorite type of sewing because I don't totally have a plan going into this, and I think that's actually more fun. I think that's the way I like to sew garments at the end of the day. Also, just the sheer researching portion of this garment making process has been intense because there are so many different styles of kirtles and there's so many different words for garments that are basically kirtles that it can be a bit confusing as to what part in the medieval period do I want to try and recreate, and also what part of the world during the medieval period, or what part of Europe. So ultimately I have settled on this design, which is going to be my inspiration for the project and is also what I'm going to be trying to recreate with my own bodice mock-up. Smock-up. I just realized. That's like the worst medieval pun ever. Oh my gosh. Smock-up. Okay, I'm getting out of here. So it dawned on me that I actually have 2 or 3 days off of my day job. So I thought, what would be more fun than hand stitching an entire kirtle? I just thought it'd be a nice experiment to firstly see if it can even be done, and I feel like it probably can because I'm choosing a late medieval style which doesn't have attached sleeves, and I find that the sleeves are often the thing that are the most time consuming for me personally, and also the style doesn't have a collar or anything like that to attach. It's basically just like 4 very simple cut pieces with a big bias drape on the skirt portion, which helps to really create that fullness. I already pre-drafted the pattern a couple of weeks ago, and I used a really amazing and simple tutorial by Morgan Donner, which I've linked in the description box down below. It honestly worked so seamlessly, and the first mock-up that I cut out really ended up looking quite good. I was pretty happy with how it turned out. So now I'm going to be cutting out the lining and using that essentially as a second mock-up to see if I like the way it's going. And if I'm happy with it and I can get enough support and get it to fit correctly, then I'm going to move on to cutting out my outer fabric, which is this beautiful sort of magenta purple pink wool. And it's a bit heavier weight, but I actually want this to be a very supportive winter kirtle, something that's going to be really nice and cozy for winter. So that's why I decided to go for this fabric, and plus it's dead stock and I just had a lot in my stash that I really want to use up for something. As you can see by my expression, I'm actually extremely excited for this. I find that there's something so comforting and joy-bringing for me to just spend a couple of days really immersed in a sewing project. And just also being able to see it so quickly come to life, especially with hand stitching, that isn't always a common experience. Sometimes it'll take weeks or even months to really get to the point where you feel like something is coming together. It is currently 12:30, so I'm not exactly getting the earliest start today, but that's okay. We're gonna see how it goes. And we're also going to see if this is even a potentially feasible thing to do. And I guess as well, too, on top of that, I can say that I also had to film most of an entire video in 2 or 3 days. So that's 2 wonderful things to be celebrating. So I got a fast start on day 1 and spent the next hour or so carefully tracing the pattern I made a couple weeks prior, cutting out the lining fabric and tailor's tacking all of the seam lines to truly make sure that I get an accurate idea of what the fit will be like for this second mock-up. So it is currently 1:35. I have cut the lining, thread traced it, and now I am going to go and take a break and have lunch. And when I come back, I'm going to put the lining together and figure out what to do with the outer fabric, and if I need to pad stitch on some extra support to the bust area, we're gonna see what happens. But first, I really need some food. I had lunch, which was a leftover chicken and coconut soup and a salad that I made the night prior for dinner, but afterwards things didn't exactly go as planned and my body had other ideas. So I ate some lunch and then I started to feel extremely lethargic. Even though my lunch had a lot of protein, for some reason I think today I'm just tired. And so I decided it would probably be wise to listen to my body, go to bed, have a nap for a little bit, and then wake up in an hour or so after eating and see how my energy levels are doing, because I feel like then I'm going to be able to focus a lot more on sewing this kirtle than if I'm sort of dozing off a little bit whilst I'm trying to sew it. A couple of days ago, I actually gave my bedroom an autumnal fall makeover, just to kind of help bring in the season a bit more. It's one of my favorite seasons, actually. And to me, there's something so charming about the various shades, specifically of how the trees are turning right now. And it's never just one or two colors, it's always like a whole plethora of different shades and colors. And I find it to just be so beautiful, and I love the way the air smells right now, and just so many different things about autumn. I'm sure that a lot of you can relate. I thought I'd use this opportunity to talk to you about the very kind sponsor of today's video, Brooklinen. They were a big part of my fall makeover for my bedroom because they provided the beautiful linen sheets that I ended up changing on my bed. This time around, I selected the linen hardcore sheet bundle, and instead of buying individual items, you save 20% by buying them as a hardcore bundle. And this bundle includes a fitted sheet, a flat sheet, a duvet cover, and 4 pillowcases, so it's everything that you're going to need for a complete bedspread. Brooklinen have graciously sponsored this channel now 3 times, and so I pretty much only sleep on Brooklinen sheets these days, and I can confirm that whether it's for the hotter summer nights or the cooler winter nights, the sheets are always very light and cozy, and I would say that they're perfect for any season. I've come to realize that investing in sheets that are long-lasting and comfortable are just a part of adulting 101. And I love Brooklinen because they create high-quality home goods to elevate your home, and that are going to last a long time and are also very much worth the investment. I also really love that they're Oecotex certified, which means that they're tested for harmful substances and certified to meet the strict global safety criteria of the Standard 100 by Oecotex. This is personally something that really matters to me when I'm buying fabric or sheets, so I'm really glad that they do this. If you want to stock up on bedding to bath essentials for 2023, Brooklinen is giving you all $20 off any order over $100 just by using my code BIRCHWOOD20 at checkout. Be sure to use the link in the description box below. Thank you so much to Brooklinen for kindly sponsoring this video, and now I'm going to have a nap in my Brooklinen sheets, and I will see you all as soon as I wake up. Good morning, or I guess afternoon or evening. It's currently 4:30 and I needed that nap so bad. I'm feeling way more rejuvenated now, so I'm gonna get the shift on that is the correct shift for the underneath the kirtle wearing, I guess. I am then going to sew together the lining fabric, which is on the floor, which is why I'm looking down at it, and I'm going to try it on and see if it even is working for me, if it's providing me with the correct kind of support. I am just going to use easy basting stitches because it's way quicker, and I also think it doesn't need to be fully backstitched right now, and that's what's on the cards next. And I'm going to then cut out the outer fabric if I'm happy with the lining and start to manipulate the fabric to see if I can do whatever I can to get the fit even more accurate and even more in the direction that I want it to. And I really didn't want to change the height of my tripod, which is why I'm talking to you all at this heavily crouched down level, but hey, it works, that's all that matters. Alright, so this is where I currently am at with the lining, and I'm happy with the shape of it itself. It looks really nice, but it's not tight enough. I will not have enough to support. As you can see, my bust is here, and it kind of needs to be more here. So I'm going to cut out the outer fabric, and then I'm going to basically try and adjust the outer fabric at the seam allowances to see if I can get that support that I need, because I really don't want to try and do it on the lining because this is not giving me an accurate enough measurement for how it's actually going to be with thicker outer fabric. I'm also going to lower the neckline slightly. I think I want it just about an inch lower, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. I ended up cutting out a new, slightly modified set of pattern pieces just to make my life a little bit easier, and I took out about 1/2 inch from each of the side seams, and then also changed the curvature of the front of the pattern by essentially making it flatter, thus removing space from the bust, which I was hoping would help to create more of the upwards lift that I was looking for. Then, once I felt reasonably confident in my modified pattern, I cut out the outer fabric, well, the back at least. You can tell by the poor lighting in these shots that it became late evening at this point, and I really just got into a flow state and forgot about the time. I did stop shortly to eat a quick dinner, but other than that, I kept on sewing. Firstly, I apologize for my lighting setup. My studio lighting broke some months ago and I haven't gotten it repaired yet. So I'm working with two kind of yellowy lamps and yeah, not ideal. But the point of this is to give you all a little bit of an update. I've gotten as far tonight as I've possibly been able to, and I stopped sewing around 10 p.m. And what happened was when I was cutting out the outer fabric for the kirtle, it dawned on me that I actually didn't have enough fabric to be able to cut both the front and the back. So I had to quickly wash the rest of the fabric that I had, as in I had the fabric, but it wasn't already pre-washed. So I put that in the machine and it's washed and it's going to dry overnight, and then I'm going to steam it in the morning, and then we can continue with the adventure of making this kirtle. I'm going to go to bed and get a good night's rest and get started tomorrow, probably in the late morning, because truth be told, I really like sleeping in on the weekends. My only goal was to get the outer fabric of the kirtle cut out and partially stitched up, and that's basically where I got to. I have cut out the back panels and I have stitched up the whole of the center back. So yeah, see you all tomorrow for day 2. On day 2, I woke up and enjoyed a relaxed morning and started sewing around 11:30 a.m. First steaming the new batch of wool that had been hanging to dry overnight. Steaming wool like this is super important in preparation for a project, I find, as it really helps the fibers. You don't want your garment warping during future washes. Then, still in my silk robe, I cut out the front panels of the kirtle, which somehow felt scarier to me than cutting out the back, probably because I altered the pattern quite a bit more for the front. I carefully traced the pattern with chalk, and then the tailor's tacking could commence. Tailor's tacks are sort of time consuming, but they really save so much headache in the future, so I try and never skip this step. Also, the reason I'm not wearing a thimble in any of these videos lately is because they really started hurting my hands. I'm quite hypermobile, including in my fingers, and a little while back Nicole Rudolphs shared a technique where you use the grip strength of your thumb and index finger to pull the needle through. I had already been instinctually doing this for some time as a way to avoid having to use a thimble, and it works so much better for me, so I'm really grateful to her for pointing out this alternate technique. I'm actually so happy with my progress. I have managed to get both of the front and back pieces completely tailor's tacked, cut out, and also I'm now going to just stitch them together. So I've done the seams for the center back and also as much of the center front up to the point of where the eyelets are going to be. This kirtle has come together way quicker than I expected it to, and it's just really cool to see that you could spend a weekend potentially putting together an entire gown. Alright, I just realized I made a little bit of a mistake. This is the back piece here. And I stitched up the side that is meant to be the side seam. So I was meant to stitch up this side here, and instead I stitched up that side there. So I need to unpick this massive seam here and try it again, because I went to try and put the two pieces together when I laid them out, and they just weren't fitting and I couldn't realize why. And then I realized, oh yes, it's because I didn't sew up the center back seam. It's because I sewed the two back pieces at the side seam together, which is definitely not going to fit. So yeah, I'm going to do that, and I don't know, it probably should only set me back about an hour or so, but that's okay, we're just gonna keep on going. As you can see, it is extremely usual to make quote-unquote mistakes when you're sewing, with any craft really. I don't even really see moments like these as mistakes because they help you realize what to be more aware of the next time you make a garment. Though with that being said, I essentially made a very similar mistake when I made that pair of Ushtan last month, so sometimes you don't learn from sewing mistakes, but that's okay too. Now I had my kirtle to the point where I could try the outer fabric on for a fitting to see if I was happy with it. I still didn't have enough support, but I was feeling confident about the direction I was heading in. I also felt much more satisfied with the slightly lowered neckline. Fit-wise, I knew I needed to lower the armholes slightly as they felt a little bit too tight. All of the bodice also needed to be a bit tighter in order to create more of that bust support. So I made this adjustment by actually removing more of the curve at the center front of the garment, and I tried it on again. You can see how much better the fit is looking, and it was nearly there. So I've pretty much been non-stop sewing since 11:30 this morning, and I stopped around 4 p.m. I've gotten a lot done, definitely not enough to probably complete the whole project today, but I think that by tomorrow I should have the majority of the kirtle done, and I really got fit that I'm happy with, which is sort of the most complicated part about making a kirtle anyways, and is usually the most time-consuming part. But for now, I'm going to take a little break, kind of decompress, go for a walk, and come back to the project a bit later, so that way I can have some renewed energy, because I really believe in quality work over quantity of work, and sometimes you just need to take a break, relax, go outside, get air, and come back in a more refreshed state to be able to really focus again on a project. But overall, most of the day, I really was in a flow state, and I was really enjoying myself throughout the whole sewing process. I wasn't getting super frustrated, even though there were some mistakes that I had to go and try and mitigate. Alright, well, I'm gonna go for a walk, and I will see you all when I get back. Alright, it's nearly 8:30 p.m. I am feeling fully revitalized. I went for a walk. I fed myself dinner, which is great. It's very nourishing. And this is how I'm actually dealing with my lighting issue at the moment. And I'm going to keep on with the kirtle and see how much more I can get done tonight. I'm feeling really energetic, so I'm considering I could probably get about 4 more hours of sewing in today. And that means that there's probably not going to be that much left to do tomorrow, which is very exciting, and I can't wait to show you all what the result is. As I jump back into a flow state, which went on late into the night, yes, I am quite a night owl, truth be told. Either that or I end up getting up extremely early at some ungodly hour. I focused on the center front of the bodice, as I felt like that would be the most time consuming. I stitched down the seam allowance of the center front opening where the eyelets would go, and trimmed down excess fabric as well, just to help keep things more neat. Things were getting there, and I was almost happy with the fit. Then commenced the part that I was honestly dreading a little bit, hand sewing the eyelets, all 43 of them. Once I got going, I figured out a technique that really worked for me, so they ended up taking less time than I anticipated. And I know what you're thinking, it looks like I'm about to stab through my hand here with the awl. I can assure you it is nowhere near my hand, it's just the camera angle. Once the eyelets were done, I got to do my first fitting with the kirtle actually laced up, using spiral lacing, and I didn't expect to be so shocked by the feeling of having the kirtle on. It felt truly magical. I can't believe I made this. What? Wow. I'm kind of just speechless at this point. The fit turned out so nice, and just seeing it all being laced up, it made it all real. It is currently 2:15 a.m. and I just finished sewing 43 hand-sewn eyelets. I don't think I ever want to touch another eyelet in my life. Probably give it a couple of weeks and I will want to again, but right at this moment I'm not feeling like I ever want to see another eyelet. I'm definitely not done with the kirtle, but it's kind of wearable in the sense of I need to hem the neckline and the edges and the arms, eyes, and all that, but it looks good. It looks like a garment, and I am just really surprised by this garment. It just feels right wearing it. I can't really describe it beyond that. I couldn't get the kirtle done in 2 days, but I do think I'll be able to get it done in 3. But for now, I am exhausted. It's been a very long day. I'm gonna get to bed, and I'll see you all for day 3. Sometimes things in life don't go as planned. Yesterday was meant to be day 3 of sewing this kirtle, and then I had 2 unexpected work deadlines crop up, so I was working until the evening. By the time I finished my work, I was exhausted and just wanted to go to bed. And then I realized as well that on Saturday, I kind of accidentally quit drinking caffeine. I mean, I was only drinking 1 cup of black tea a day, but I decided not to drink it, and then the following days I just didn't drink it either. I didn't think I would have caffeine withdrawal from that little caffeine, but my body is very sensitive to like everything. And yeah, so not only is this a video of showing you the process of sewing a kirtle, it also is now a video of what caffeine withdrawal probably looks like. So it is now day 4, technically day 3 of making this kirtle, and I am now finished with work for the day, so I'm going to have a little break to decompress my brain, get some sunshine. on my skin, which always feels amazing, and I'm going to jump into finishing up this kirtle hopefully by tonight. And I can't wait to see what the final result is going to look like. I feel like it's been such a labor of love these past days, and then of course it's gotten extended because of everything going on in life, which, let's be honest, these types of things happen to everyone, and so I think all this is a more realistic representation of what the sewing process can often actually be like if you have to work a day job as well. And now you know as well too, like I've sewn a kirtle, so that makes every other kirtle in the future way less intimidating. And it just opens up a whole new era and an entirely new side of historical fashion that I've barely explored. So let's get to finally finishing the kirtle. I've added a new row of basting stitches here at the side seams just to see if I like the fit a little bit better, just to get it a little bit tighter at the waist and slightly at the bust. And I'm going to try it on now and just see if I prefer the fit or if I should remove it before I go and backstitch these side seams up, because I really want to solidify my fit before making any more time-consuming construction. By this point, I was stoked about the fit. I mean, just look at the expression of pure joy and excitement on my face after trying on the garment. I decided this was where I was going to stop with the fittings, and it was time to make the back stitches on the side seams, solidifying the alterations. Once those were secured, I trimmed down the seam allowances to reduce bulk, and I ironed all of the seam allowances flat. Now there were really only 2 steps left, finishing the neckline and armholes, as well as hemming the kirtle. Finishing the neckline and armholes was simple enough, and didn't even require having to make any notches, which actually surprised me, and the final result turned out beautiful and clean, if I may say so myself. It is 11:45, and aside from hemming, I have finished the kirtle. I don't know how. I'm wearing it right now, and I got so emotional putting it on. I feel so confident wearing it. I just can't even describe the feeling. It's such a special garment, and I feel so lucky to get to experience what it's like to wear it. I can't believe I made it. I can't believe how far my skills have grown since I started sewing 3 years ago now, I guess. It's made me very introspective somehow. I don't know if that's what you expect when you finish making a kirtle. More or less, I managed to complete it in 3 days as well, which is shocking. Unfortunately, I don't have the resources this time to be able to make a big fancy cinematic reveal of the kirtle like I usually do. So I'm just going to put together something simple this week. It might not do the kirtle justice to the degree that it maybe deserves. I've kind of always fantasized about this amazing sort of medieval-esque cinematic reveal for my first kirtle, so maybe at some point down the line I can use it to do some sort of shoot like that. I'm so proud of myself. Wow. I'm going to go and start on the hemming. Worst case scenario, if I don't finish it, I will complete it tomorrow on day 4. And come on, how many times have there been where a garment hasn't been hemmed? It happens all the time. Also, I decided in the end to not line the kirtle because you'll see in the final reveal, it really doesn't need a lining, and I kind of felt like it actually looked better just as is, especially since it's such a thick boiled wool. It doesn't have any raw edges that can fray, so that wasn't necessary. And so I just stitched everything down, and also make altering it in the future much easier as well, because I won't have to then also undo the lining and try and perform garment surgery. A massive thank you again to Brooklinen for being the sponsor of this video. If you'd like to stock up on bedding to bath essentials for 2023, Brooklinen is giving you all $20 off any order over $100 by using my code Birchwood20 at checkout. Be sure to use the link in the description box below. Now I think it's time for me to go and do as much hemming as I possibly can, and I will see you all tomorrow once I've had a little time to reflect on everything and a little time to decompress. Good night. So then I hemmed for as long as I possibly could, and honestly, I forgot time existed, which is actually kind of fitting because as I was doing this, I was watching a documentary on quantum physics. When I checked the clock, it was 2:30 in the morning, and I really needed to get to sleep. I still had a bit more of the hemming remaining, so on day 4, I spent 1 hour completing the rest of it, and the kirtle was at last completely finished. All in all, the kirtle ended up taking me about 1,415 minutes, or about 23.5 hours of hand stitching, from the point after making the first mock-up and drafting the pattern. Those 2 steps took me about 90 minutes, so all in all, about 25 hours of work. As I mentioned, I didn't have the resources this time around to shoot an intricate cinematic reveal like I usually do, but please enjoy these simple shots of me wearing the kirtle and enjoying a crisp autumn evening. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in 2 weeks for another video.